but there was a lot of momentum heading in the direction of the Southeastern Conference with Oklahoma and Texas joining the league. And our friend Jake Crain is sitting in a fantastic spot because he is the man behind the JBoy Show, and it is blowing up. Obviously, if you're following him on social media, if you've seen him on YouTube, you've seen the podcast, to me, he's got the best information in the conference. He's got the best guests. He's got the most updated information on recruiting, on all of the teams, and that's why we're going to talk to him once a week here during the football season, and we're looking forward to getting that going here this morning on the Jordy Culotta Show. So we welcome JBoy into the conversation. It was great to see you down in Hoover, my friend, and good to have you back on here this morning. How are you?
Man, Jordy, I'm great. I appreciate the kind words, my friend. Obviously, love what you're doing as well, and we're going to get you on weekly at the JBoy Show soon, especially after this announcement we're dropping next week. But no, I appreciate the kind words, man. I'm just ready for it to get here. We're close. The clock's ticking. We actually have football this month. Took the Diamondbacks last night for a decent amount of change, plus 1.5, so I'm feeling dangerous this morning.
Nice. Bumgardner versus his old Giant squad looked good last night.
Yeah.
So JBoy, obviously the news that rocked Baton Rouge and LSU is that Miles Brennan sustained an injury away from the football field earlier this week that he had to have surgery on. He tweeted out yesterday that surgery was successful. A couple of medical professionals that we've talked to look to about a 6 to 8 week time period of him missing action this season. What does that mean for LSU? What was your reaction when you heard that Brennan was out?
Well, and again, regardless of how it happened, even though that is important, I hate it for the kid, especially his age, trying to fight for a job. I thought Max Johnson was going to end up being the guy anyway. And what it really does is it hamstrings Jake Peetz a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think enough people are talking about from a play calling standpoint now. You're not going to be able to sit here and run Max Johnson as much as you wanted, or especially in the red zone, be able to do as much outside the pocket or from a zone read standpoint and stuff like that, because if he gets hurt, now there's not a guy behind him like a Miles Brennan that has experience that scares you. Not that Garrett isn't a good player, talking about Nussmeier, but it's a lot to ask for a young guy to come in and be the guy. I love what Max brings. I thought he was the better fit of this offense anyway, but you got to feel it for Miles Brennan. Hopefully he gets back soon. But if you're Jake Peetz, it really kind of puts a wrench in what you wanted to do from a quarterback run game standpoint, and that's what opens up stuff on the RPO. That's what holds that backside defensive end on the zone read, and it's just another threat you have to account for as a defensive coordinator.
How much pressure does it put on the play caller knowing that you're a snap away from having a true freshman be on the field taking meaningful snaps in an SEC game? What does that do to a play caller?
Yeah, well, again, it kind of cuts the playbook down a little bit. And, on the third and short, and in the red zone, really, because, a lot of guys can call plays in between the 20s. Once you get inside the 20, when the safeties are able to come up a little bit closer to the box, which means they're closer to the line of scrimmage, where you got to find a way to not just out-angle people, but outsmart people from a eyes and feet standpoint on the defensive side. If they know the quarterback's not going to be a huge threat to run, I almost say it's kind of like when Jared Stenham was at Auburn, and Auburn was trying to run the zone read with them. Nobody really respected it. The one time he pulled it was against Alabama and scored a 26-yard touchdown, but that's once out of a ton of times. So when I look at it, it just hamstrings you from especially what you can call in the red zone, which is where the money's made.
What was the impact of LSU losing Dare Rosenthal to the conference? It was a huge story down here in Baton Rouge. What did that do for the overall thought of LSU's chances going into the season from a national standpoint? What did you think about it?
Well, you never want to lose anybody, but especially an offensive tackle that you expected big things out of, that kind of proven himself in Dare Rosenthal. And look, it hurt. It does hurt. Changes and shuffles up the offensive line because, I always say it's not about the starting five. You got to have at least 7 and really 8 in this conference and guys that are able to kind of be moved around. So it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. And again, I'm sure Jake Peetz just wants the season to get here before anything else happens. But, it makes it a lot tougher because I'm a firm believer in the games won up front.
Tell me what the thoughts are on Brian Harsin going into year one. I know that things are getting closer for Auburn, obviously, just like they are for the rest of the conference, and starting year one for him. It seems like he won the speaking part of the opening year on the on the Auburn tour, touring the state, and it looks like alumni and supporters and the fan base are really bought into his program. I know that you're close to the Auburn program. What are the thoughts around Harsin going into year one?
You know, there's a lot of excitement. He's brought some accountability back to Auburn. And look, I know Gus Malzahn was a good guy, but you don't pay somebody $7 million to babysit. You pay him to win. You pay him to beat Georgia. He was able to beat Alabama a couple times. But what Brian Harsin brings is what, Auburn's kind of used to. We're going to turn it into a street fight. And at the end of the day, when you play Auburn, win, lose, or draw, you're going to feel it. It's going to be a physical game. From a recruiting standpoint, in the 23 and 24 class, they feel really good about some offensive linemen, something that, Gus Malzahn didn't do a very good job of recruiting and even developing for the next level in the NFL. So just from an overall standpoint, a program standpoint, Auburn fans are excited for a change. And, to me, Auburn's kind of like LSU. They do better when people don't think they're going to be as good as what they are, kind of as the outsider. Typically, that's when Auburn's the most dangerous. What I'm interested to see is schematically how much they're under center. I think that's how you hide a team that doesn't have a lot of tackles, offensive tackles on the roster. You slow down the pass rush. You're able to hide the ball in the play action. And are they going to get the tight ends involved on offense? I think they will. I always say the three things you haven't seen in Auburn in about 7 years are aliens, Bigfoot, and a consistent passing game to tight end.
TJ Finley, the storyline of him going into camp, where is that sitting with Auburn fans as they look at Bo Nix, who has been the starter, but Finley transfers in? What are the chances of a quarterback shakeup this season on the Plains?
It would have to happen during the season. Bo would have to play bad. What it does give you, and it's actually the inverse of what LSU is going through right now, is you can run Bo Nix now. You can run him more in the red zone. You can take some chances from a play calling standpoint. And just like I said about LSU, you can't now with Miles getting hurt and not want to put a young guy in there. So I think it frees up the play calling. But Bo Nix is a guy, I think he kind of welcomes the competition. I think he kind of likes having the chip on his shoulder. And, look, it's good to have someone pushing him. I mean, Bo Nix hadn't had anyone pushing him. I mean, Joey Gatewood couldn't throw it from me to you if we were sitting in the sports bar together. And, at the end of the day, when you look at it, you want that at every position. What makes Nick Saban great at what he does? There's competition at every position. Nobody can ever relax. And when you never relax, you're always grinding. When you're always grinding, you're always sharpening iron. And that's something that you want as a program and on the team at every position. And they've got a couple games to get used to the new system. You got Akron, you got Alcorn State, and then you go up to Happy Valley against Penn State. We're going to see how that goes. That should be a hell of a game.
The JBoy Show, check it out on Twitter. Give them a follow there to keep up what's happening on the show. At the JBoy Show is where you find him. On social media, on the latest podcast, Alabama is the featured team. You sit down with Stephen M. Smith over there, who's an insider from Alabama Magazine, and you guys talk about new offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien. We have seen that position be very popular in college football for a while now, whether it was Lane Kiffin or Steve Sarkisian. There's a lot of attention to the play caller in Tuscaloosa. What type of impact has O'Brien had on Alabama and Bryce Young up to this point, and what do you expect him to look like once the fall gets here?
Well, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Zoolander, but it's like Nick Saban's running the school for offensive coordinators who want to call plays good and do other stuff good, too. I mean, everybody that goes there, it's amazing. They just spit them out to a better job. But look, here's the thing, and we talked about this on the show today. Bryce Young was Sark's guy. I mean, went out to Cali and got him. They were very tight, had a great relationship. Bill O'Brien has come in. I think he's built a pretty good rapport with Bryce. It's going to be impossible to build the rapport that him and Stark had, especially early. But what I'm interested to see is, and look, it's Alabama's offense, Bill O'Brien's offensive coordinator, but there will be some Bill O'Brien flavor in here. Are they going to keep Bryce Young in the pocket more and tell him, listen, this isn't high school, even though we got some reps last year, you're not Jalen Hurts. You're not big enough to just take off and take hits and make it through a whole season. You've got to be very smart. So I'm interested to see against Miami early if they sit there and try and beat them from the pocket. I think you're going to get some sprint out. They did a lot of that with Deshaun Watson for the Texans. And at the end of the day, Bill O'Brien is going to, install his passing game from an intermediate standpoint. And I'm very interested to see how Bryce handles it and how he handles it when the first read is not there. Is it, the first guy's not there, I'm gone? Or is it, the first guy's not there, going to go to my second progression, he's not there, I'm going to throw the check down. That's what I'm looking for early out of Alabama.
You told us that you liked Georgia win the national championship a couple of weeks back when we had you on here. That was before SEC Media Days, and now we see that JT Daniels has been voted to first-team preseason quarterback from the media members around the conference. What do you think about the steam rolling downhill now from Athens, Georgia, where it seems like a lot of people have high expectation for the Dogs, who you like to win it all going into this season, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, and look, I hadn't even been in the media long enough to be one of these guys. It's like, oh, well, Georgia's going to win it this year. They're going to win it this year, and they're going to win it this year. I really believe when I look at that roster and what they did in the defensive backfield out of the transfer portal, what was once a weakness, they had Tyke Smith, they had Darian Kendrick as well to go with Cine and Speed and all those guys. But offensively, I really believe that Kirby trusts Monken and JT Daniels. I think Georgia may be past a run this year, as shocking as that sounds. I think they're going to attack vertical early. You saw that at the end of last year with JT. They're comfortable with each other. Pickens is gone, but they add, obviously, Arik Gilbert, who somehow got eligible. I guess Quinn Ewers can do a whole semester in a weekend. And
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, through University of Phoenix or whatever, him and Larry Fitzgerald sitting down doing classwork together. So, but no, I do. I look at Georgia, and again, week one against Clemson, it's the best insurance policy in college football. You win that one, You feel pretty good about what's going to happen throughout the season, especially with the way the East is. And I do think that Kirby Smart will be the first assistant to beat Nick Saban.
Jay, what do you make of these stories of the SEC adding teams? Texas and Oklahoma, tell me your thoughts there. And then reports earlier this week that Florida State and Clemson are blowing up Sankey and looking if they got spots available for them. What do you think this ultimately looks like when it's all said and done?
And I think we're going to end up having either a Power 3 conference full of a whole hell of a lot of teams in each conference, or a Power 4 full of about 20 to 24 teams. I don't think it's slowing down. And look, from an SEC standpoint, adding Texas and Oklahoma, why not?
Yeah.
But same thing. I'll tell you the same thing I told Texas and Oklahoma fans. Be careful what you wish for. This is not one bowl game where 8 guys are opting out. You have to go through the absolute 9 rings of hell to get through this thing and then play in the SEC championship game. To quote DeMarcus Cousins, this ain't a walk in the park over here. And you got to play defense. I think it's great for the league. Now, looking at expanding past that, I would be shocked if they didn't eventually. I don't think it's going to happen very soon. What I think you're going to end up seeing is the Big 12 and the Pac-12 merging. You're going to have about 4 of the Big 12 teams both either go to the AAC or the Big 10. Then the SEC is going to be like, all right, we got to add 4 more teams. And that's when I think you'll have a chance to see Florida State, Clemson, Ohio State, and Michigan, possibly if they don't want to stay in the Big 10, which I would be shocked. But I think it's very much more likely you see Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, and Virginia, something like that.
Around the college football world, they kind of think that it's universally agreed upon the playoff expansion, but nothing's written in stone. And I don't know if you saw the article, CBS Sports brought it up. There was a lot of Pac-12 and even Big Ten commissioners saying, like, whoa, we haven't even agreed to this. We were going to meet in November. And there were some quotes saying, why would we expand? There's going to be a lot of SEC teams playing in it. Do you think now if Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC, some of these schools might pump the brakes on the expansion of college football playoff?
To me, it's like an angry ex-wife situation. Like, oh, well, you want to add Texas and Oklahoma? Well, we won't expand the playoffs. I would be shocked if they didn't keep the expansion just because of everything they went through and all the hoops that have already been lifted. But, I mean, if you look at the way that even the Big 12 reacted to ESPN, claiming they were tampering on, conference expansion, which in all actuality they probably were. But when I look at it, I would be very surprised. I just think you're getting a lot of complaining from the angry ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend, and, everything like that. But I would be surprised. It makes for good conversation, and you never know in today's college football. But, guys, literally 50 years from now, we are going to look, and even before that, we're going to look back on 2021 and be like, this is the most seismic year ever in college football. You have the NIL, transfer portal, playoff expansion, conference expansion. Is it still going to be conference expansion? It's absolutely wild.
And I think we'll look back on 2025 when this thing finally expands and say, what were y'all doing for the previous 80 years trying to figure out the champion of this thing? What took you so long to get to this model where this is how you crown a champion. Put the best teams in a playoff format, let them figure it out on the field. Jay,
I'll tell you this, Gordy. I think Texas and Oklahoma will be playing in the SEC next fall.
I agree with that, 100%. I mean, it goes right back to your girlfriend boyfriend example. I mean, how do you break up with your spouse or your ex and continue to live with them for a year? You know what I mean? Like, it's over. This is going to be awkward.
Yeah, and there's precedent. Look at A&M and Missouri. They're supposed to hang around a lot longer than what they did. And the Big 12 was like, nah, y'all can get out of here. I'm not paying for this anymore.
Exactly. And they got enough in the call for to cut the check next season and get over to the SEC. So I'm with you. I expect that to happen. Jake Crain, a.k.a. the JBoy Show. Find him on Twitter. Find him on Instagram. Find him on YouTube. You can find him everywhere. The handle is at the JBoy Show. We appreciate his insight. We'll talk to him once a week here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Thanks for the insight this morning, man. We'll talk again soon.
Always, Jordy, love coming on. You'll do a hell of a job. Excited to get you on the show. And make sure everybody next week watch for a big announcement. We got something cool happening. So we'll holler at you soon.
All right, man. See you. There's JBoy checking in this morning. We'll be on his show later this afternoon.